Ayo, Noodles here. This is a project that I've been wanting to do for a while, but never was able to get into because it required a lot of participants. And now for some reason, I've decided I wanted to push on with this project with myself instead. So let me explain to you all how this tournament works. 16 players, or in this case 16 of my spots, would compete throughout this tournament with the best creativity they could spew out of themselves. Each round will have its own kind of challenge, pretty much pushing the limits of my creativity every time. Now you see why it would have been easier with participants rather than myself. Every player will be judged within 4 categories. Originality, a first for everything such as shooting your tube off a bottle. Creativity, like banking into a chimney rather than just off a rooftop. Consistency, scored by the accuracy of your shot. Some tubes may have more than one trajectory while only having one lineup. And lastly, hitability, which is self-explanatory. Low hitability would be like trying to hit a spot that lands in your own spawn. A category is 10 points each, allowing a player to grab a total of 40 points in a round. And that's pretty much it. Now, let me introduce you to our contenders. Starting with Purify, going up against Baboon, Mumu, and Fire, Glides, and Blue, Orchid, and Sapphire. On the other side, Skells and Wise, Lucy and Bumblebee, Rarity and Caution, and last but not least, Joules up against Joro. That is our entire bracket. Now the only thing left to do is move on to our first matchup for this video. Finally, we are here with our first matchup. Here we have Purify going up against Baboon. Let's go ahead and start with Purify. He'll be showcasing his tube on the map Nuketown 2025, which I suggest anyone beginning tubing to start on this map. One of the more fun maps to find tubes on. Nudging into a pretty common corner as Purify lines up his first shot of the day, seems to be a pretty precise lineup. The more precise your lineup, the more difficult it would be to consistently go for. An out-of-map dome tube, a fairly common spot idea, but as we can see here, this is what the competition is all about. Creativity. Purify putting his tube into a chimney is the best way to start out this tournament. Let's see if Baboon Spot can compete with this. Now we are on the map Magma, a DLC map, so I'm sure anything Baboon shows us will be a very patent idea. Bonus points for using crosshairs that aren't in the assault rifle. Baboon is already showing us his creative flair using crosshairs from a sniper with laser sight to line up a shot. An auto-map spot with 3, 4. It's like a bunch of bounces out of the map. It's only the first round and both players are coming in hard. Superb spot from Baboon here. Now with the scoring, starting with originality. I am giving Purify a 6. Many experienced tubers would spend most of their time on Nuketown 2025 looking for an out-of-map dome spot. So with that, 6 for originality for Purify. As for Baboon, a solid 10. Magma being a DLC map means that most of your spot ideas will be original. A great move from Baboon here. Moving on to creativity, Purify scores a 10. Most dome tubes are only a couple bounces. The second bounce having to go off the ground or a roof, but Purify pushes that boundary, creating a tube that goes into a freaking chimney. Baboon will also score a 10. Not only was his idea very original, He didn't just stop at 3 to 4 bounces, he chose to go the long haul, pulling out 8 bounces in a single tube. For consistency, Purify will score 4. Not only can having messy, inconsistent tubes lower your score for consistency, but having very precise shots means that many of your shots won't go where they're supposed to go anyway. Baboon Spot will score an 8 though. Having a far corner to run to and a different gun to line up with means very low amount of time to be able to shoot your tube. It's not a bad score though, because the lineup is very consistent. And now for hitability. Purify will score a 10. Many snipers linger behind that chimney, so if any of his tubes manages to be what he had showed us, that's a clip, no doubt about it. Baboon will receive a 7. Not many people will be seen running behind that rock, but that placement on where the tube lands is perfect if anyone decides to ever do so. So, with a total of 35 to 30, Baboon will take this round. But you, the viewers, can curb the winner of each round by commenting down below a hashtag with the first 4 letters of the player's name. So, if you wanted Purify to take this round, comment down below hashtag PURI and hope there's enough votes to get him to round 2. If you rooted for Baboon, no action is necessary, but go ahead and banter up a storm against those Purify fans. Let's move on to our next matchup. And here we are with our second matchup with Mumu and Fire, starting with Mumu. I forgot to mention, the main rule for round 1 is that every player needs to be able to shoot their tube within the explosive time limit, which on Black Ops 2 is the first 8 seconds of the game. Mumu is in a very comfortable corner, and his lineup seems fairly simple to my eye. A crouch shot. An auto-map spot from the defending side with a couple of nice rock bounces, and it lands in a very hittable spot. You gotta love the map Studio. Probably one of the more popular DLC maps. Let's see what Fire has. We are on the map Carrier. Carrier is a very open map, but if you can utilize the large radio tower, you're bound to find some nice spots. As we can see that Fire, that is what he's going to do. A nice sniper lineup without the laser sight this time. A dome tube. Dome tubes are hard to come by, so I like the idea. But that railing bounce right there might cost Fire on consistency. It lands in a pretty nice spot though. On to the scoring. Mumu will receive a 10 on originality. Had he been on the attacking side, the use of this auto-map roof would have lowered his points, but because he's on the defending side, makes this spot super original. Fire will receive a 9. Although we have barely seen any spots off of this dome, it doesn't mean that there aren't any. Any tuber would have found something off of it for sure. A 10 for creativity for Mumu for not keeping his spot a simple 1 or 2 bounce. Fire will also grab a 10 for doing the same. I really loved the route his tube took as well. On consistency, Mumu will receive another 10 for having such a close corner and a simple lineup. Fire will receive a 4. Although the lineup may be simple, the trajectories of his tube has cost him in this category. Now for hitability. Mumu grabs another 10, our first 40-pointer, and it's only the second match of the video. The placement where his spot lands is perfect, as many people will run through there and even camp by that spot. Great job, Mumu. Fire will snag a nice 9. His spot lands close to where many people will be found also camping or running through. And there you have it. With an incredible total of 40 to 32 points, Mumu takes this match with ease. Of course, you can still help Fire grab this victory by voting down below. On to our next matchup. Here we have Glides against Blue. Let's see what Glides has in store for us. Rush has so much potential for spots, so I'm sure Glides will be showing us a nice one.
Keep your head up and your ass down. It's go
A
time.
pretty nice corner. Seems to be a Cloud lineup. Clouds can make it very hard to find lineups on.
Topping off. Topping
Off of a car, a nice super bounce. And this one is going to go through the roof's window. That's pretty clean. Although it lands in a pretty sketchy spot. That might cost Glides here. Now let's check out Blue's showcase. Another carrier tube. This time on the attacking side.
You are authorized to engage.
With a nice quick corner. Seems like it's going to be a crouch lineup. This lineup seems pretty precise. And it seems like he's shooting off to the side of the ship. I've never seen this before. Let's see what this tube does. Threading the needle off of something really weird. And a net. And it lands in a pretty nice area too. I like that spot. On to the scoring. To start it off, Glides will receive a 10 for having a very cool idea of shooting a tube off of the edge of a car. Blue will also grab a 10. I would have never thought to shoot a tube off a boat. Such a crazy idea. For creativity, a 9 for Glides. Although the idea was solid, I feel like there isn't more to be done on this spot. But going through the roof window is still pretty nice. Blue will receive a 10. Everything about that tube was clean. A 3 on consistency for Glides. The blotches of clouds makes lineups so difficult. With an addition, the car's super bounce also makes the trajectories inconsistent. Blue will also receive a 3. Having pixel perfect lineups are painful to go for, and this spot also has random trajectories. A 5 for hit ability. Glide spot lands in an area where it is very hard to judge anyone would ever run into, but it isn't completely impossible. An 8 for Blue. On occasion, there will be players running through this area to pick people off or ninja defuse. Solid area for a tube to land. With a total of 31 to 27, Blue will take this round. On to the last matchup for this side, we have Orchid up against Sapphire. Let's see what Orchid has to show us. Cove. There isn't much to do on this map other than creating slide tubes off of the trees, so let's hope Orchid can come in different. A simple corner with what seems to be a pretty easy cloud lineup.
Dry.
Here we are with the trees, as expected. And a sliding tube, which isn't a bad thing. Slide tubes are still very creative in my opinion. A second slide. Orchid manages to pull 2 slides on one lineup. Incredible in her to do so. Now let's see what Sapphire has for us. Another studio tube. We're getting the repetition of maps now.
We got a green light.
She seems to be running into a much further corner than what Mumu had done.
It's too close. Fight harder.
And her lineup seems fairly simple enough, even though it's a cloud lineup. Nice, an out of map spot. A double out of map spot. What incredible creativity from Sapphire here. Now let's get on with the scoring. Orchid will receive a 5. The only natural spot to look for on Cove always starts by shooting a tree. Sapphire will receive a 7 on originality. The corner in which she chose to shoot from is quite far, making it less likely that anyone has ever shot from it. But those out-of-map roofs have quite dozens of spots off of them. A 10 on creativity for Orchid. She managed to push the boundaries of a cove tube and created a double sliding tube. Props to her. Sapphire will also receive a 10. Managing to find a double automat spot is about the most creative you can get on a studio tube. A 10 on consistency for Orchid. Seems that she doesn't need to be too precise with her lineup to be able to achieve this spot perfectly every time. A 7 for Sapphire here. Her spot seems to have random trajectories, lowering her points in this category. And lastly, a 7 for hitability for Orchid. Although it lands on a pathway, you won't see too many people running out of the plane into the landing of this tube. A 9 for Sapphire. Her tube lands perfectly in a spot where occasionally snipers will camp. And with a total of 33 to 32, Sapphire barely sneaks out a victory in this round. And this concludes the left side of this bracket. Let's check out our matches on the right. Now for the right side of the bracket, starting with Scales and Wise. Scales will be showcasing on the map Hydro. Lots of DLC maps coming out for us today. A very close corner. And the lineup is a cloud lineup, but it doesn't seem to be too horrible. Fairly common idea to go about these water pipes, but I didn't even know this structure was here. A very, very fancy tube. And it lands in a pretty nice spot. Nice job on Scales. On to Wise spot. Our first standoff spot. I was wondering when we'd get one today. Standoff being one of the best, if not the best map to find spots on. It's not looking too good for Wise so far though, having to run so far for his lineup, as well as using crouch and sniper method to line up his shot. Let's see if his tube can grab him this victory. Clean in the map to out the map, but it seems to land in a pretty sketchy area. Let's go to the scoreboard and see if Wise Spot can take this round. Starting with originality, Scales will score a 7. These water pipes are very popular to find spots off of. Wise will receive a 10 for such a scary original corner to shoot from. Scales will receive a 10 for creativity for pushing the boundaries of Hydro's pipe tubes. Wise will also receive a 10. Spots that go from in the map to out the map are very rare to come by. A fantastic tube by Wise here. A 9 for Scales for consistency. Being a cloud lineup, sometimes your tubes won't go where you want them to go, but his lineup is consistent enough to nearly grab a 10 in this category. Wise will grab a 1 for having such a far, elaborate lineup with a tube that has random trajectories. Scales will receive a 9 for hitability, a perfect area to catch people running through. And Wise will receive a 3. Not enough points to catch up to Scales. Wise's spot lands in a tough area where most players will almost never run to. And with a total of 35 to 24, Scales takes this round. On to our next round, we have Lucy against Bumblebee. Lucy is on the map Mirage, which has a lot of potential for great spots. So let's see if Lucy has one for us today. A fairly easy corner. And a nice simple lineup as well. A simple roof spot approach. But it is a slide tube. That's going to put Lucy in a good direction for creativity. And a couple of nice bus bounces to top it off. Let's check out Bumblebee's spot now.
Clear.
Our second Nuketown 2025 spot.
Deathmatch. Deadly force is authorized.
And this time, it seems it won't be a dome tube. And it seems that he's using the crouch method to line up his shot.
Gun down, stand by. Gun down, stand by.
Very interesting. This is a pretty solid tube. This can very much battle up against Lucy's Mirage tube. So let's check out the scoreboard. Mirage's roofs are the most common surfaces to bank tubes off of. And with that, Lucy will receive a 6 on originality. A 10 for Bumblebee for thinking outside of the box and further. I never even knew that shack had an edge like that to bounce off of. A 10 for Lucy on creativity. Managing to extend her tube from a roof bank into a sliding tube shows us that she is incredibly imaginative. Bumblebee will receive an 8. Although his tube is very original, not much else can be done to improve his tube, making for any creativity at all. A 7 for Lucy on consistency. This tube has many random trajectories, lowering Lucy's score in this category a tad. Bumblebee will receive a 10 for such a simple and easy tube lineup. Lucy will receive a 9 for hitability. Many people will often hang around that bus, so it's no doubt that this spot would ever be hit. Bumblebee will score a 5 here. It's not too often that you would find players rushing up against this fence. And so, with a total of 33 to 32, Bumblebee will take this match. One more match left after this one. Here we have Rarity going up against Caution. Hijacked. A smaller boat map, probably one of my more favorite maps to find spots on.
You are authorized to engage.
A simple corner, but Rarity is using the clouds to line up with. This may or may not hurt his score. The spot goes into the roof of the boat, and a slide. That's a very pretty tube. Let's see if Caution can defend against this. Our second standoff spot. I'm sure sometime in the future we'll have a challenge just for the map standoff. Another far corner. This may hurt Caution here. Also using a mantle method, which will definitely cost him a lot of time trying to go for this tube. An auto-map windmill tube though. Very nice. And that was on top of the door as well, just to top it all off. That's pretty nice. Alrighty, so for originality, Rarity will score a 10. What made Rarity shoot into the boat's roof, I'm not too sure, but I'm glad he did it. Caution will also grab a 10. I'm going to guess that he's the only person to create a spot off of the windmill, so props to him. A 10 for Rarity on creativity. Not only did his tube soar through the underside of the boat's roof, but Rarity's tube also slid for a couple seconds. Max amount of creativity here. Caution will receive an 8. There isn't too much you'd be able to do with that windmill, but I do like the last bounce on the door. A 6 for Rarity on consistency. Not only did he have a cloud lineup, but Rarity's tube trajectory is quite random at times. A 3 for Caution here. With such a far run and elaborate method in order to achieve this spot makes this spot's consistency quite low. Rarity will receive a 5 on hitability. For landing very close to the enemy spawn, many enemies would have traversed away from the area by the time the tube even lands. And lastly, a 7 for Caution on hitability. Many people would be seen running about in that area, especially to camp back there. But landing so close to the door is slightly costful. So, with a total of 31 to 28, Rarity takes this W. We only have one more match to go. I want to appreciate everyone who has watched up until this point. Let's grab the stub. The final match of this video. Who will move on to the second round? Will it be Jules or will it be Joro? Starting with Jules. She is on the map Raid. Not much spots can come out of this map, so let's hope she brings us home.
Your bread, grunts.
A very snug corner in spawn. Lineup seems fairly simple. Okay, Lucy. Creating an in-the-map to out-the-map spot. I'm not sure how Joro can compete with this. Let's check him out. Uplink. Now that's a map we haven't seen yet. Endless possibilities of spots on this map. Seems like he's running into quite a far corner, using what looks like blobs of clouds. This is definitely going to cost him on consistency. It's just a crane. It is not just a crane tube. Hold on now. Look at all of these bounces. That's the first off of the bomb. And it lands in such a great spot. This is a close battle, folks. Let's check out the scoreboard. 10 for Jules on originality. No one would ever think to land a tube in this area of the map. Joule will also grab a 10. At first, I thought it was going to be a crane tube, but it ended up having a lot more. Thinking outside the box. Another 10 for Jules. Not only did she think of wanting to find a tube for this area, she planned it so incredibly well. Slowing down the tube and hitting a rock outside the map, allowing the tube to smash through a tiny window. Just incredible. Joro also snags a 10 for creativity. This match so far is neck and neck. Joro decided that his spot may look better if the bomb was there, and he was right, pushing his creativity to the max. Jules will receive a 7 for consistency. Unfortunately, her tube has a few hiccups, being that they have random trajectories. Joro will receive a 1. The precision needed to line up this shot is very overwhelming, as well as needing to run to such a far corner. And here we are with the last category for the last match of this video. Hitability. Jules' hitability score, a 3. Although a couple people would be seen taking this path, the hang time and inconsistency lowers the hitability of this tube quite a bit. Joro will receive a 10. Many players will be found hiding in this spot wanting to ninja defuse. Not only that, Joro's spot has enough hang time in order to make sure enemies have enough time to get into that hiding spot. And so, with a total of 31 to 30, Joro will be the victor of the last match of the first round of this tournament. This match could have been a finals with how incredible each spot was. Remember, if you wanted a different player to win, comment down below a hashtag with the first 4 letters of their name, and they might be able to proceed to the next round. Before I end this video off, here is the leaderboard for all of our players. As we can see here, with Mumu's incredible 40-point victory, he is number 1 on the leaderboard, followed by Baboon and Skells, both who scored 35 points in round 1. Baboon being second for having scored more 10s. And that's that. Again, this is a project that I've always wanted to do, so even if there isn't anyone watching to this point of the video, I appreciate every single one of you. It doesn't stop here. The final results will be posted by Monday along with challenges on the YouTube feed or my Twitter, link in the description. Round 2 should be expected the following Friday in 2 weeks. Thank you all again for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Put a mask on, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace, Serenos.